welcome to Film Study, an all-American podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi, as you all know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all those things. I have Kat back on the podcast.
Hi!
We love having all of the major Jordala episodes. Let's just
I mean, sign me up for every single one and I'll be here. What can I say?
So glad you're here. Yeah, let's hop into it.
Let's do it.
What did you think overall about the episode?
I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's really, I think that this episode is really hard to kind of think of anything but the Jordala storyline for me, just because it was so strong, like for so many reasons that I'm sure we'll talk about. But I also really like this Bolivia stuff. I really like watching them navigate their relationship in this unbelievably healthy way. Like, there's bumps in the road, but they figure it out like a mature couple should. And no Asher, which was fine. I'm okay with that. But you know what? I miss JJ more than I miss Asher when they're both missing, just because JJ has just become this, like, I don't know, I love his comedy. I just think he's such a light. It's just good. It's just funny, what he brings out in everybody. So I kind of missed him. But other than that, and I also think we might be getting a queer storyline with him soon. So I'm kind of like looking forward to that and seeing what they do with it. But yeah, overall, I really liked it.
Yeah, same. What's the guy's name?
I
don't know.
I don't remember.
Tutor guy.
We know who it is.
Yeah.
But I think they might be. I feel like this might be a queer storyline for him.
I know.
I mean, like, I am all in
Me
on
too.
that. So, yeah, because I mean, there hasn't been a queer storyline with any males on the show, I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly,
there
right?
hasn't, yeah.
It's just, so it would be great to see that, and it would give JJ something that's, more than just comedic relief. Not that we need him to be much more, but it would still be interesting.
Right. And I think, building up something as opposed to dropping bits and pieces there that, like, don't really line up with the rest of what they've given him, I think is good. Because I feel like whenever they do give JJ storylines, it's always really random. Like, just like they just drop a ton of drama on him, but it's where
agreed. Agreed.
But no, I agree. I think it was a good episode. I am actually happy that I've had a couple days to, like, sit on it, because if I
process
it, like, if I had done this 2 days ago, I would have been, like, much more much less balanced. We'll see how balanced I am tonight anyway, but, like, it would have been much worse. But getting into it, this is just really
that's fair.
This is just really random. But I love that they've been giving us, like, these beach intros, like, off the bat, like, just showing the beaches of California, because I don't know, sometimes I forget they're in California and it's just cool to me. So I made a note of that.
It's nice. Yeah. And I don't know, like, the beach houses, it's all very, like, 90210 vibes to me, and I'm just here for it.
Right. Very, very 90210. Very 90210. I just want to get this out of the way. Billy balancing his schedule, struggling, missing breakfast. Preach tells him to, like, prioritize things. Preach mentions that he still has his hands in many things, many side hustles, and we were like, Preach, are you still dealing drugs, like, as a
what's going on? Yeah, what are we not seeing here?
Coop doesn't have a career anymore, so you're not managing her merchandise. What's happening?
That's true. Yeah, you're not managing her, so what's happening?
Yeah.
You're still a dad, but I'm okay with taking a break from that whole story.
We're more than okay. But yeah, he was trying to give Billy some advice, but just Billy was just like, I'm very hands-on, so I can't do it, and ended up missing dinner that he had set with Laura before and missed the dinner, came late to the dinner, and realized that he needed to balance his schedule better. So he was like, I'm going to give up coaching morning workouts. And he made a nice little breakfast for Laura. That was their story. I felt like it was a nice little side thing that didn't take up too much time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was definitely just there for, like, let's give them something to do in this episode because we have them signed for this many episodes and they need to be in it for some, and be doing something.
Bring out the contract talk.
Nice, like, it didn't like overwhelm the narrative or anything, and it was sweet. And I actually really liked seeing Olivia sort of put Billy in her place, because I think, like, when we're teenagers and we start to grow up and we go off to college or whatever else we may do past high school, we become like, we're always kids to our parents, but we still become adults, and our relationship with our family changes, I think. And it's interesting to watch that dynamic shift and, like, see how all the kids kind of talk to the parents and the older generation. I think we see that with Spencer too, and Grace.
No, agree. And we just haven't gotten Liv talking to Laura like at all this season. So whenever those two are on my screen and they get to have nice moments, that was really nice to see that dynamic explored, and to see Liv, actually have a say-so in her parents. Because we also haven't gotten, like, the Baker talking about their family dynamics since season 2.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I also agree. I really love Liv and Laura. That's such a nice mother-daughter dynamic. So the more of that, the better.
Skipping to the teens, though. Patience and Coop. Patience and Coop. Here's the thing. I am very, like, interested to see where this story is going, because, as an audience member, it's frustrated me to see Patience sort of, like, holding on after they've broken up, because we knew that she wanted to break up with Coop for, like, so long, and this has been, like, a dragged out thing. And so to see her, like, holding on like this and jealous is just very odd. But then I was just like, you know what? They've been together for a while. They live together.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's probably just weird, and they're just having a hard time letting go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you've been together for that long and you also still live together and you're trying to become friends, like, watching your partner move on with someone else or whatever it may be, it's gonna be weird and awkward. So, like, I completely understand, like, where she's coming from. I just hope it isn't trying to turn back to they're gonna end up getting back together because they realize, being apart is terrible or something, because I genuinely feel like they need to break up. I'm not saying that they can't get back together down the road, but, like, that should be way, way down the road, like, because it needed to be over. So I just hope that, because I don't think, like, her and Sabine are anything. I think it's just Coop thinks that maybe they are, so she's going to hook up with this new girl, and then Patience is going to find out, and it's going to be a whole thing, and I hope it just doesn't lead back to them, like, reconciling immediately.
Right. Well, and to, like, get into that is that, like, Sabine came over to the house, and Patience was fangirling over her. At the same time, Skye, who's Marita's granddaughter, came over because Coop left her charger, in quotation marks. And, so Patience meets Skye for the first time. Not a fan, was calling her strange name, strange girl, all of that stuff. Coop referred to Patience as her roommate, which, she is. It's fair. But it was just very interesting. So anyway, Skye ends up being invited by Layla. Skye and her 2.5 million followers end up being invited by Layla to Patience's release party. And it's this whole weird back and forth thing between, like, Coop watching Patience and Sabine, and Patience watching Coop and Skye, and just them making each other jealous. One thing that I didn't get, though, was Coop absolutely knew Skye was flirting with her, so why was she trying to pretend like she didn't know? Because when she talked to Skye, she was literally like, "Oh, you didn't have to couldn't come up with a better excuse other than to charge her." Like,
I don't. I mean, I don't know. I either lying to. I mean, covering it up, or maybe I don't know. Sometimes we lie to ourselves. I don't know. I'm not totally sure like where her mindset is. I don't even know if she likes
right.
Skye. I feel like she's making moves out of confusion and maybe jealousy.
Yeah. And both of them are like Patience kissing Sabine out of nowhere. What? Question mark.
I know. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna end well.
It's definitely not gonna end well. It was a reaction to Coop leaving with Skye, and I'm just interested to see what it says. And even what is it? Spencer made that joke to Liv about I don't want to be a Giles because these Crenshaw women.
But, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I want them to actually move on and not have them moving on just be, like, plot devices for them getting back together. Yeah. You know what I mean?
1,000% agree.
I want to see them actually fall for new people. You know?
Yes. Honestly. And that's the thing. It's just been too soon. And the fact that, what was it? Like, I don't know. They've just showed Patience specifically just being very just basically acting like she doesn't want the breakup, and I'm very confused by that. And they've only been broken up for like an episode. I'm just confused all the way around. And I just need Patience to stand up.
Me too, because like, does she not remember like their relationship was a mess?
It was. Stand up, Patience. Stand up. I'm kidding. I'm just gonna keep saying that throughout.
Stand up.
Throughout this podcast. But yeah, so that'll be interesting, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, when we get to predictions. Spencer and this brand. So he's working on his brand. I love the little starting with Spencer and Olivia and them sort of doing their separate things, and Spencer coming after working for 53 minutes, not an hour, on the words that describe Spencer James, and him really just coming to Liv and like asking her for help, and her being like, I always think you're hot, like I don't, I'm the wrong person to ask because I think you're great, and just them having these little cute moments, and her telling him that he's special. I love that. And him blushing a little bit. We just love Olivia as a couple, and just seeing them continue to grow and continue to be it's insane to say, but be more and more comfortable around each other.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when a couple gets together after a very long build-up, the payoff can sometimes be a letdown, whether that be the chemistry isn't what it was or the story isn't what you thought it would be. But with Spencer and Olivia, I feel like it's just playing out perfectly. I think that they're giving them their quote-unquote domestic era in like the perfect way possible, and we are seeing them grow, and they really take their time and they make space every episode to make sure that these characters have moments together, no matter what the individual arc is. And I think that that's just really thoughtful on the writer's part. And the chemistry is definitely still there, and I just love, it's just like you're just adding on, you're just seeing a new aspect of their relationship. It didn't take away anything. Yeah, everything is just even the more angsty moments are really great. I love that they don't agree on some things, but they're not letting it get in the way of their relationship. Not to say that they won't, but right now, they're working at it.
Right now they're working at it. That's
yeah.
Perfect. And like, you actually said it in a perfect way, because I think the same. I think that the writers have taken a lot of attention to detail and a lot of care to make sure that they are getting Spencer and Olivia's relationship right, because it was such a long wait. So I appreciate that they've, even small little details, like I know something last season that as a fan of theirs, and I know some other fans, right, felt the same way, is we were like, we didn't even get to see the summer, like we didn't get to see like this build up before Vegas, and we know what they've been in season 1 and season 2, but we didn't get to see like their close moments. And so even them in the first half of the season giving us those like movie nights that they had, and them watching trashy TV, and I just really appreciate like the care that the writers have taken for Olivia, and again still letting them do their individual thing. This time Spencer was helping Grace with Dylan, because he was getting into detention for writing a comic book and XYZ. And Dylan, number one, is not even Dylan. He's a grown man. Goodbye.
It's wild. Like, puberty has set in. His voice is like 18 octaves lower than it used to be.
When he was like sitting back on the couch, I was like, who is this man? Like, what is this? What is this?
I know. He went off to film that movie and came back a whole different person.
Yeah. Booked and busy. Jalen is booked and busy. And so it was really interesting to see this dynamic with Dylan, because he is like barely on our screens. Like, we get him once every 6 episodes or something like that. So it was nice to hear what's been going on in his world. Spencer tries to talk to him, gets their favorite barbecue. But he like doesn't want to talk about it. Something that I laughed about is Spencer being like, "Oh, we can go to the park." I'm like, no middle schooler wants to go to.
It's like the last thing you want to do when you're like 14, 15 years old.
Right. I was like, this is not season 3 when he was tossing around the football with you. Like, let's writers, let's find another way for them to hang out. Maybe say like, let's play video games or something. Like, no, let's go to the park.
I know. Like he's 8.
Exactly. So anyway, I just thought that was really funny, and Dylan wasn't trying to have it either. He was like, I'm gonna go to my room, like I'm just gonna eat this in my room and keep it pushing. So Spencer and Coop talk about this, which they're another pairing, not pairing like romantically obviously, but like another pairing that we just have missed seeing the lightness of their relationship. And I thought that this episode brought it back, with Spencer trying to talk to Coop about his brand, and her just being like, not everything is about you, Spencer, and her giving him advice about Dylan, and just being like, did you just make what I said about Dylan about you? And just seeing their banter.
I know. I love their relationship. It was like one of my favorite things that like drew me into the show in the beginning, when the series started, and it's so good to have those moments. And I would like more, but I'm glad that they don't, like completely abandon. But it was just so funny this episode to see like all this chaos going on around them, and then they're just like ignoring, and they were like, it's just another day in the vortex.
Literally.
And it's really good. And I love Spencer's look when he turned, like, he was talking to Coop, and then she, like, did a major look, and he looked over and then looked back, and she was talking to Skye, and he was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Like, I don't know, just those little moments between everybody are really good, and the cast really, like, understands how to play those character dynamics. So it's I love it.
I loved when he said, being bold and Patience's release party. I just love that line so much.
Where's the lie, though?
Right. But one of the things that...
Because, I mean, that's a really good point, though. I didn't even really, like, marinate on that. But when you think about it, like, as much as I respect both of them moving on, and each person has completely a right to do whatever they want to do, it is, like, if you just broke up with someone that you were to get... Like, if I was with somebody for years, and then we broke up, and then I went to their party and their event, I'm not going to, like, openly flirt and hang out and look like I'm about to, like, hook up with another person. I don't know. That's a little disrespectful.
Not a little bit. It is a lot disrespectful. That's why I'm just like, I don't know why Coop was lying. I don't want to get on my Coop rant tonight. But it's just like, I don't know why she was lying about, she's like, Skye isn't trying to blah, blah, blah. And then telling Patience, like, this was funny, when she was just like, you're not new to this. I was waiting for, you're true to this, but she didn't say that. But yeah, just, I don't know. Coop knew what was going on, so I don't know why she was acting brand new, basically.
I don't know. But again, I think that her acting at the end there and actually leaving with Skye is like a direct result of being jealous, seeing Sabine and Patience together, like on stage and jumping around and flirting or whatever.
And there was that little line where Patience thanks Sabine for the guitar and she thanks Layla, and she didn't.
And she doesn't thank Coop. You're right.
Yeah, and I'm like, but why would she thank you, Coop?
I know.
I don't know. Coop has been annoying me less lately, so let me get my foot off of her neck.
Me too, actually. I don't dislike Coop as much as many. I just feel like they really... She, always has to be the culprit, you know? She's always the one making the mistakes. Right. So, it's, it's like, let's see her, do something great for once.
Yeah. It did, I will say, and we're getting to this soon, but it did seem like we again, I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks, but I'm really starting to see Patience's character flaws coming out. And they're definitely rounding out her character as well on that end. But that's interesting. But on that Spencer line, something that Coop did tell him was that Dylan might feel like he's in Spencer's shadow, and so he talks again, and Dylan throws his art in the trash and is just like, look, I don't want to have this conversation, go back to your fancy school, this and that, and so just basically after talking with Olivia about it and them talking about their brothers, and just how much Crenshaw means to him. He goes to Dylan and he wants King Crenshaw to be his brand logo, and really encourages. I've just been waiting for this. Your art matters, Dylan. Your art matters.
Okay, but if you watch One Tree Hill, you know why that's a big deal, because James Lafferty, who starred in One Tree Hill, one of the most famous lines from that show that's in the pilot is, your art matters. It's what got me here. Yeah. It's what got me here. And it's such a good line. So I honestly 100% feel like that was a shout out to One Tree Hill. I can't even conceive it not being, considering
and Mike and David wrote this episode.
But it worked for me just because I'm such a fan.
Same.
I don't know. I definitely think that, yeah, I was good with it. I liked it. And I also really like that they're placing an emphasis on, because, sports are so heavily showcased in the show, which is great. Sports are incredible things for young people to get involved in, but there are other paths, and sports have this history of, being top tier, whether it be, from the educational viewpoint of schools, giving more money to sports than they do to music and art, but also just in actual adolescence, and I just think that it's nice to see an adolescent teen sort of taking a different route, and that being praised by someone who is so deep in the sports world. It just shows how complex Spencer's character is, and I feel like if this show had been on 10 years ago, Spencer's character probably wouldn't respond in the same way, and I don't know, I like that.
Yeah, and I think even with even and we've been talking about the parallels. That's why I love this episode. It's so funny because I was like this episode is gonna be so long in my head because I didn't know how to break it down, because I felt like there were so many layers in this episode, and it was a very dialogue heavy episode. I didn't give my spiel at the beginning, but I was just like, look, I'm about to be on my acting tip.
Heavy, but no, but the thing is, it was dialogue heavy, but, and I don't know if this was James Lafferty's expertise of knowing how a teen drama should flow, but the beats were just
they hit them. Yes,
so
well.
Everything flowed so well, and and I know we're gonna get to the Jordan and Layla, but just the way that fight flowed like beat wise was just like I mean, just the way they were snapping back and forth at one. I mean, it all works so well for me. I love
so
this episode.
Incredibly well. No, he got such good performances out of each of the actors, to give James Lafferty his kudos. Yes, the king of the teen drama.
I think he just knows like what tone needs to be in every scene. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we're laughing here, this is funny, this is serious. And then there are some scenes, and One Tree Hill was like known for this, where like people might be bickering, but there's still a comedic tone to the scene, and like there were a lot of those throughout the episode. There was a lot of range. Like, okay, I'm ranting now, but it was just really good. I think
I was going to do the same thing, because I was just like, there's so many, and again, giving James his props, and also giving Mike and David and the rest of the writers' room their props, because again, I just feel like there were so many layers to this episode that
for sure,
I just don't think that we've quite gotten in a while. It was a very unique episode in tone. Like, I don't know, it just had a different feel to it, and I definitely recognized that the writer in me was geeking, the actor in me was geeking, and the like audience member in me was geeking. So yeah, it just, so many things, can't talk about it enough, and yeah, not to all of the creatives behind it. Back to season 1, a nice parallel with that too is Spencer also like saying that to Coop, like in season 1, is, you know, your music matters, right? And, you know, sports is my way out, if you will, and that was like the season 1 theme of the show or whatever. Sports is my way out of the hood, and music is yours. And so bringing that back around and saying like, we don't need to leave Crenshaw, we can stay here, we can build it up, and like we can build it up with our resources, be it Spencer with sports, Dylan with art. So I like that parallel as well, which was really cool.
Yeah, so poignant.
Liv in the journalism, the NIL storyline. It's so funny, because I feel like this one is one that the fans are very split on. And like split on just wanting it, and split on how it should be executed, and different things like that. But Liv interviewed Wade about, you know, his NIL deal and why he missed the game, and he calls her a skank. There we go, 2000s writing, okay?
I was gonna say that. I'm like, that Sue Spencer would have been like, maybe not hit that bad, but you know what I mean. That's an early 2000s character right there.
Right. Wade is a very early 2000s character. I'm getting the vibes from him. And so, yeah, he was just like, oh, you just did this interview to make me look bad. Comes at Jordan, who he had already came at before, hazing him. And is just like, you know what? You can bring whoever, your dad, your sister, your drunk uncles, which, casual racist vibes. What was it with the drunk uncles? I don't know. It's just giving a little weirdness. But yeah, just commenting on that. He saw Billy walking by, etc. And Jordan really, again, part of his story was not being as confident, so he really took that to heart, starts yelling at Liv and says, like, can you do something that doesn't involve our family? Which, again, is what leads Liv, as we talked about earlier, to go talk to Laura. It was just, like, even when they're talking about deep subjects of what we were talking about, it's finding the different colors. It was a very, like, colorful episode in terms of emotion, and finding the different colors, because they added that bit about Mean Mug Jordan, like, making an appearance, which we have never heard before, but it fits so well in that conversation with Liv and Laura.
That's the thing. It's like, it's almost like they found a way where they didn't have to kill like any of their darlings, you know, right. Like all these little extra beats fit into an already, you know, pretty jam-packed episode, but it didn't feel overwhelming right. in any way. Like it really worked. And I think that is a combination between the writing being exceptional for this episode, and then also the directing, knowing how to pace an episode. So you have to cut less, essentially, I would right. assume. But yeah, with the NIL thing, I think that it's creative in the sense that we all know, if we've watched teen dramas, that when they all get to college, things can kind of fall apart real quick because everybody's kind of off doing their own thing, and you don't have that easy way of sort of looping everybody in together. And I do think that Liv taking on this storyline connects a bunch of dots, and extends sort of in a way where a lot of people can be brought in. If not now, then even down the road, more people can become involved. So I think that that's an interesting thing to do for the season, to keep everybody relative, you know?
Right. And again, just the far-reaching effects, because it impacts, we saw it impact Jordan in this episode, I'm sure, and we just got like a synopsis for it. It's going to impact Spencer in the future, and you know, they live with people who are on Asher and JJ, who are on other teams, exactly. Other teams, and so I'm actually appreciating it, and I think it's a really creative way of, like you said, keeping everybody together, and for me it's been interesting thus far. And so she has that talk with Laura. Obviously, Jordan brought up the fact about the releasing the footage last season, and she like talking about, oh, you got mom fired, but Liv was just like, I didn't get fired, I quit, and that like life is full of sacrifices. Again, sort of bouncing off that storyline with her and Billy. But really just saying that, like, Jordan's going to come around. He's not going to be mean mug forever. And so Liv was just talking to different people throughout. Talked to Spencer later about it. At Patience's release. I just looked at this and I have to say this because, again, I was just like, Coop, what are you doing? Why? Number one, I was very surprised that Liv was late to the release party. I didn't understand the purpose of that, but Coop saying, ain't that Liv? As if she doesn't know what she looks like? What?
No, because she was saying that so Spencer would look so she could walk away to Skye without like having to explain herself. Like that was good. The whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting that
like
joke.
She knew damn well that was Liv.
Got it. It didn't, for some reason, it did not land. I was just like, what are you doing? But okay, I'm getting the joke.
That was definitely what it was. Yeah, and I just want to say one more thing about this with the whole, like, I think that in this episode, it did really display, like, a lot of growth from Jordan, because by the end of the episode, he completely understands and accepts why Liv is doing what she's doing. It sort of clicks into place, and I think that high school Jordan, it would have taken him like 4 to 5 episodes to realize that Wade is like a huge douche, and like, you know what I mean? It only took him 1 episode to be like, okay, wait, I'm a different person now. This is ridiculous. Like, I am, you know what I mean? Like, things are different now.
1 episode in which his person talk with him.
Exactly. So I don't know. I like that.
Just audience, prepare yourself. I'm gonna be unbearable. No, but I agree. I definitely think that he came around to understanding and has this really nice moment at the end where he says, like, if my sister's coming for you, like, you better watch out. But getting back to that, Spencer and Liv have a conversation about, again, they're brothers. She talks to him about the whole Crenshaw thing, and they talked a bit about Jordan, but the majority of their conversation was about Liv saying, I didn't tell you about this article because I know that you have a temper and I didn't want you to react. And basically her just saying that she's going to be more honest with him. Spencer had his little, like, what was it? Which means something like that. And just them having this cute moment where he was just like, I'm always going to have your back. And I loved that moment with them. It felt so natural and felt so good. And like you said, they're just a mature couple. So I really appreciated it.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody asked me, do you think Liv was wrong for not telling Spencer about the article? And I'm like, I don't think it's a case of right or wrong. I think that it's understandable where she was coming from. She, one, didn't want to get him upset. She knows that he's involved, and she didn't want him to feel like he was put in a bad position. And it's understandable, like, why she would have been hesitant. It wasn't like she was trying to lie because she was doing something sneaky. It was her thinking that she was being thoughtful in some ways, I think. And yeah, for her to, realize, okay, that's not the right way to approach this. From now on, I just need, to understand that he's always going to support me, even if we don't have the same perspective on something, is a really nice, mature, adorable moment between them. So I really like that.
And her, like, was it scrunching up his face? I love that, too. It's just so cute. The little forehead kisses,
so
too.
Cute.
And, again, we've talked about moments of growth for Jordan, moments of growth for Spencer. I think him really coming to a place where he can be supportive and not, especially when it comes to Liv. Like, there's been this running joke in the past couple episodes where it's like, not everything's about you, Spencer. But when it comes to Liv, like, him actually stepping outside of his own perspective and taking hers. Perspective taking, we love it. And so him even, like, texting her about Jordan.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing also, like, I think that it'll be really interesting to see, because so much of his arc has been him learning how to not be the hero. Like, that's literally been, like, half his story, like, to not always step in. So to see how he handles when he inevitably finds out about Wade and how Wade is treating her and what he called her, and, I'm sure they'll probably have another run-in or multiple. So I'm really interested to see how adult Spencer handles that, because I think that would get anybody upset if their partner was being sort of disrespected in that way. So that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, and I was actually gonna ask you about that, because it was this very interesting thing, because I've been going back and forth about it. Is obviously this article is going to blow up, it's gonna cause mess, it's gonna cause drama, whatever. This idea of Liv being able to handle things herself, and this idea of wanting to see people stand up for Liv. And so I was very much on the, like, first side. I'm like, I'm a Liv stan. I love Liv down. And so I'm like, Liv can handle herself. Like, Spencer doesn't need to come to her rescue. He doesn't need to, like, do anything for her. But then there's this other half of me that was just like, but also, like, we don't, and I've been very vocal about this, and I'm like, whenever there isn't, the women on this show are going through something, it just does not seem like they have the same support as, like, what the men go through. I had to take Jordan's storyline last season. Everybody out the wazoo going to check up on Jordan. Did we get that same thing with Liv in her recovery? No, we did not. And so, like, that is a critique that I have of the show, is that the women are not showed the same support. And so even though there's a part of me that's like, Liv can absolutely handle this on her own, there's another part that's just like, you know what, but she shouldn't have to. Like, people should come to her defense. People should be there for her. So I just wanted to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the interesting twist. I think that, we've seen, Spencer having to learn, okay, I can't always be the hero, and then you have these, strong female characters that, you want to be like, they can handle their own stuff, and Spencer has to understand that specifically, with his own girlfriend and relationships and life, not even with females, but just in general. He's, always trying to be the hero for everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. It's like stranger on the street, like, he's going to be the hero. And so, like, but the twist is that sometimes in life, we do need people to back us up, to defend us, to support us. And this could potentially be one of those situations. Like, yes, as women, can we handle someone calling us a skank? Of course. Like, okay, like, F off, you know what I mean? Right. But this is bigger, and it's building, like, on a larger scale. Like, this isn't just some random guy. This is a guy that has power, influence, privilege in the system. So I think that people supporting her is important, especially because we didn't see it enough with her recovery. And I don't think they were consistent enough in her recovery storyline, at least not in the way they were with, like, Layla's mental illness. Like, I think they did that really well, but I don't think that Liv got the same airtime in her journey. So anyway, but I do think, yeah, there are times where, yeah, you do step in and not be the hero, but I mean, be there and say something, you know? So
yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, I think that'll be interesting.
I agree, and I really am really on this, like, you know, she shouldn't have to fight this battle on her own, especially because I think that they gave us a little hint right at the end when, you know, Spencer's like, oh, what's wrong? And it was the yard yak makes its, second appearance, something like that. It's crossing the universe. But on yard yak, he says the thing, calls her skank again, and she's like, oh, it's nothing, and brushes off. And so that told me, like, this is gonna become a thing. And so I'm like, I do want, and not just Spencer, and that's the thing, like, I want people, like, I want Layla to come, like, I want, you know, other people that are in her life to come to her defense.
100%. And I do think we'll see it, because again, I feel like a lot in the past we have not seen Jordan. We always have Baker twin moments, but we don't have them in the same storyline, at least like multi-arc storyline, right? But this one directly affects Jordan. He's directly involved. He knows Wade. He's been hurt by Wade. He's already been like, mess with my sister, you'll see what's up, like, you know, and everything. So I think that he'll definitely be there for her. I would love to see everyone, Layla included, but I just have this feeling that it's going to like divide a lot of the team and a lot of the school, maybe, and maybe multiple colleges. Like, this has the potential to really, like we were saying, like ripple effect, like out. So, you know, you just, who knows?
We'll talk about it in predictions. It's gonna be exciting.
There you go.
This monumental storyline, I don't know, it was like, yeah, Layla and Jordan. It's so funny. The main event, and I'm just like, I don't even know how to. No, I do know how to start. Like I said before,
please,
I'm gonna be unbearable because can't nobody tell me nothing. Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Not after this episode.
Not after this episode. I've been very vocal that I co-wrote a spec script with Carmen, and it's not, don't misunderstand me, audience, but it's not like word for word adaptation, right? But it's like the nuances of their relationship and some of the things that they were like arguing about and discussing. Very strange and surreal to see that on your screen. When you wrote this months ago, it was like 9 months ago before season 4 premiered. And so, can't nobody tell me nothing! I don't want to hear it, Jabot. I'm on a high. I will not come back down from this high because we're also getting Jordala.
Me neither. It's just gonna get worse from here because they're going on a road trip next week. Literally, we're getting all the tropes, and I'm here for it.
Just worse from here. But we start off with him. I just wanted to do that little prelude for the people. But start off there. Warning, exactly. Warning. Start off with Layla delivering Patience's release party invitations. Going back to us figuring out her character flaw, even though Layla wasn't completely right? But it's that Patience is being a little bit lazy. Patience is being a little bit lazy in doing and completing the tasks that Layla is asking her to do for her release party. One of them included the invitations. Jordan, you know, as he was yelling at Liv, you know, there was that like parallel scene of like Layla coming down, and they were actually the same scene, yelling at Patience for forgetting her guitar, and that's sort of what catapults them into the studio. Anyway, as they're in this studio and as they're dealing with viewing each other, Jordan sort of accepting this treatment from Wade, and Layla, you know, being a bit of a taskmaster, I should say, for Patience, they're really riled up, and they're really talking at each other and not to each other and complaining about simultaneously what they're going through. And, you know, from there, they have these things where they're just like, I'm just tired of you talking about this. Layla says, this is the first, she was like, oh, I'm sure Liv had a good reason to write the story. And then here's where it starts, is that she, like, asks Jordan, like, why he lets Wade walk all over him. And Jordan has his reply of like, you know, I just have to accept it. I have a lot to learn. Da 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 da. Simone agrees with me. Simone wasn't here to hear how he talked to you.
Simone's too busy taking trips to Chicago or Texas or wherever she went with Damon
to hear how Wade has been talking
weighing
to you.
in on this, please.
Yes. And so they continue to argue. You just feel like the tension rising, and Patience again talking about, or Layla's talking about Patience, and like, oh, she did this on purpose. I know that she like forgot her guitar on purpose. And Jordan goes, she's in a Bond villain, Layla. I love that. Like they didn't do it on purpose. And so anyway,
so funny.
Comes to a head. Again, getting back at the dialogue, I don't even know if I can summarize the scene because it was just so much. You know, we all know it. But what did you think of their fight overall? Let's go like with the build up.
Okay, I mean, just generalize. I mean, separate apart from, and I know that people hearing this who don't like Jordan and Layla are gonna not believe me, but I genuinely am objectively saying this, regardless of liking them as a romantic
You said there's no
pairing.
bias here.
It is one of the best scenes of All American.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and like, I, honestly, and I know people are not going to believe me, but like, if you want, you can go read my reviews of the show. I can be objective when I have to be, but like, it is one of the strongest scenes of the entire series. Mm-hmm. And that is an incredible thing because I don't think we can say that about especially a lot of Michael Evans Belling's scenes because he's great. I personally love Jordan. I know a lot of people don't. I just found that out recently. And he's great at comedy, but he hasn't been given a lot of dramatic material to work with. And the commitment in this scene by both actors is absolutely phenomenal. Like we were talking about before, the flow of the scene, the beats of the scene, the things that were said, the motives for why they were said, the things unspoken, it all is so phenomenally well executed. I mean, it could not have been better, but I mean, it just all flows together, you know, like the build up and the fight itself. There's really no break there. It just snowballs, you know? And I think that what I love about them is, and okay, we're shifting to bias now, and I can admit that, but I love that the two characters are not afraid to call each other out on absolutely anything. And I think what that brings out in the opposite person is a really incredible thing. The way that they are able to grow from the honesty and the attention that each character pays to the other one is really interesting and impressive and captivating and compelling. And it's just, you know, I agree with that a lot of things that were said in that fight were uncalled for and hurtful, but I feel like we gotta let characters be messy. Because isn't that more realistic? If they were having this heated, passionate argument in real life, do you really think that nothing hurtful would be said? Like they'd be sitting there and be like, well, it wouldn't have played as well. Right. And they immediately walked it back and apologized to one another. And immediately, because they're one of each other's favorite people, as, you know, Jordan says, which is like the best, cutest line ever. But it's like, it's all coming from a place of passion. And I'm not saying that that's acceptable to, you know, call people names or whatever it may be, but it's like, we have to let characters make mistakes. We can't have this thing where characters always have to be perfect and say the perfect thing and be respectful all the time. We just can't. Television would be so boring, and its characters would be so one note and flat, and there would never be any growth. So we have to let them mess up like that, and sort of discover it in time or whatever it may be. So I like that. I like the mess. It's an important thing, you know. And all this. I don't want to say all the anger, but some of the anger is fueled, I think, from subconscious feelings that they're absolutely not ready to admit to themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, 1,000%, 1,000% agree. And like letting characters mess up, and they are young, like they're
So young.
freshman age in college, and so I mean, yeah, but definitely the walls up, pants down line has been a subject of a lot of discourse, a lot of the discourse of you ought to grow a pair, subject of a lot of discourse. But again, it's like it was. They didn't say it in the best way. They didn't say it in the best way, but and
But you can't paint a character by one. It's like I feel like some people have this thing where the character says one bad thing and that's
right,
what defines the character. Whereas if you look at the scope of what their relationship has been last season and this season, he has been there for Layla when no
nothing but
one else
encouraging.
has. Yes, like encouraging, patient, shows up, supportive. Like just there's been no other person on the show that has been there like that for her.
Absolutely
Besides,
not.
Liv, but they were having some issues. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
if you can't just take one bad thing that someone said because of a heated argument
Four
and
words,
forget,
right? Yeah.
yeah, the entire character. And especially when like that's not, first of all, and this is subjective, but it could be stemming from a little bit of jealousy. I personally think that and not that, again, that's not that that makes it okay, but just like there's a lot of mixed feelings in there that are like
Yeah.
that he's going through right now in a lot of different areas of his life that you gotta let a character mess up as long as they realize how wrong it is and don't make the same mistake over and over again.
Yes, yes. And as we said, they quickly apologize. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you brought up jealousy because something, and you were on the spaces when I said it, but I was just, and this is super early on. This was like what, after episode 12. But I said quite a, not necessarily controversial, but it was just, it was a bold take. It was a bold take. And I said, I think Layla is in love with Jordan right now because she did this thing in episode 12. I still think Layla is in love with Jordan right now. And I, in my opinion, have come to realize that I think that there is I think that Layla's lying to us a little bit. I think that she is aware of some of her feelings as well. Um,
I mean, yes, I agree because I think that who is better than building walls than Layla? And think about what happened to her. And think about, just even with her depression, but then also think about when she let Carrie and that whole I
debacle.
can't believe that storyline is coming back. I mean, I'm grateful it's going to push them closer together, but I cannot believe we're bringing Carrie back. But anyway, side note.
Hopefully
But
she's not
and
on
then
screen? Question mark. No.
right? Like, oh my god. And then even with Spencer and Liv and everything, and yeah, that
Right.
was definitely a gray area, especially when it came to Liv. But I mean, Spencer definitely messed up there, and everything that she's gone through. She's like, I'm not even gonna touch that. I don't
Right.
even want to think about feeling something for someone. But we don't get to decide what our
Right.
feelings are.
Right.
And I mean, I think Jordan has, I don't want to say in love with because people will come for me, and because he is in love, but I am someone who believes that you can love two people at the same time. I don't
Mm,
think that, especially when things are changing and shifting in your life and you're changing and shifting. Um, so I think that he is also starting to become aware of some feelings and he is terrified
yeah.
of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And the reason I just made that like bold claim about Layla being in love and knowing a little bit of her feelings, even if she doesn't know she's in love, I definitely think that she knows that she has feelings for him. And it's because of what she said in um sounds like someone's jealous, like, but right, it never happened because then you'd have to grow up here. Like those types of things, even though it came out of anger, I was just like, that's
Yeah.
so that's so interesting, and that's so aware of the situation. And it was sort of like got lost, I think, a little bit. I mean, like, not really got lost, but it's not as like, what is it, like, quotable as like walls up, pants down, something. But like, I was just like, does Layla know? And so I've just been coming more around to this idea that she
Yeah.
knows a little bit.
No, I think she does, and I think that she probably knows that it's not just her feelings, but maybe even his. Because he is
Right.
a little bit jealous. That is where that horrible statement that he said kind of stems from. And yeah, and so it's like, no, I don't want to get that mixed up with this friendship, but your friendship means so much to me at the same time. And then there's the whole Simone of it all. So but he's obviously, I mean, if you watch All American Homecoming, he's obviously aware that dinner scene between him and Simone and them drinking the water, like, so awkwardly, like,
Right.
he obviously knows that there's something, to be, like, discreet, like, everyone is aware that things are changing.
Everyone is aware that things are changing. He mentions, that bit about Carrie, and just that how that changed Layla. And what I love about that, and we talked about this a little bit ago, is that they like immediately apologize. I like to call it like the nice Olympics. Would it like throwing out random quotes? "Ah, you're a good guy. I didn't mean what I said." Like all of it was just, they're very hilarious because it was just like went from, and again, just how great this episode was and how great that storyline was in particular, is to go from this like very high, passionate, uh, angry, a little bit frustrated, fight, to this like, I don't know. I just lost my confidence, and like, oh my god, like, you're a natural born leader, Jordan. Like all of these things, I just feel like, and we were talking about Michael, and he did it incredible, I think, in this scene. And I also think like Greta, just layers of Layla that I have never seen before. And I was super shocked by that because it's for what, in the fourth season.
Yeah. I mean, I think we got to see some really good stuff from her in her depression storyline. So that's when I
Hmm.
was like, okay, this girl like has got range. She's just, the
Yeah,
Layla that we've known before that was just like this like kind of one note character, but there's a lot more there, and this actor is like very impressive. But at the same time, we haven't seen that since, because she's like become this very like steady, kind of snappy person to most
right,
people. She's softer to Jordan, but she's not, she isn't like all over the place like she was in that
right,
moment. So to see her
right.
like completely let go like that again, and see that it's still there, that like, I don't know, like that chaotic energy that they can
Right.
bring out in each other. But I don't know, when you've had walls built up and somebody can make you feel things like that, where your walls no longer work, I don't know. I think that means something. But yeah, and then also, Michael was just, I've never seen him act that well in this show, and I think he's a great actor, but it's just like I've never seen a performance like that from him before. That was so good.
Right. Right. No, again, I think that for both of them, and I'm also a person who's a super fan of Greta's performance in season two, and the depression storyline arc. But I don't know, it was just something about these specific scenes and some of the
Yeah.
acting choices that I was just like, I'm seeing shades of like, I'm very vocally a fan of Greta's acting, but like I'm seeing shades of Greta's acting that I've never seen before, and I'm
Yeah.
loving.
No, me too. Yeah, and it's hard to see that and then see, and I'm talking about the characters here, not the actors, because this is nothing, it's either of them, but like, and then to go to All American Homecoming and see Jordan visit Simone, it just doesn't pack the same
No, it
punch
doesn't hit. It
when
wasn't hitting. It wasn't hitting.
and I have to believe that that's on purpose, that every time that they meet together, at Bringston, because she hasn't been home yet, like, they kind of feel more distant, and they're sort of,
Yeah.
less there because they are slowly changing and growing apart, but still love each other a lot. Like, I would never
Right.
deny that they don't. But when it's juxtaposed like that, back to back, you're like, okay, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
He
And
didn't
I
even
will, and
care that she went away with another guy. Like,
I
that
know.
didn't
Oh
bring
my
out a little
goodness.
snippy snap in him, but
And
Layla did. Like, come on.
literally, and I said that in the homecoming review. I was just like, well, we know he can still get angry, okay? We know he can still get angry. But the funny thing about that is, I'll give, as we're giving props to Greta and Mike, is something that I loved about Jeffrey in Homecoming was that the first sip of water that she took when she was just like, oh, how are things with Liv? Like you just felt the tension in that
Yeah,
moment because she knew it wasn't Liv. She knew it wasn't Liv. And so just different things like that. And I'm really enjoying
I
how
agree.
all of the actors are playing playing this dynamic.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You could tell that, like, she knew that there was going to be an answer that she didn't want to hear coming. Like, I don't know if she knew it was Layla or not. Like, I can't be sure on that, but she knew that it was going to be that wasn't Liv, that was blank. So,
Right,
you know, you
exactly.
could just see in her face, like, oh, this is not going to go well. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I don't think she anticipated Layla. But that just her reaction to hearing that it was Layla was quite funny. Um, but yeah, it was, and again, yeah, just so well done. And I it was a nice contrast because you see just I left this episode being like, yeah, like they're each other's person. Like, you know, hearing Layla say, like, I wanted someone to be there just for me, and thinking about how the writers have built up Jordan as being this person that's always checking in on her, all the way back to and I was gonna say like all the way back to season 2, thinking about the cotillion, but like all the way back from like season 1, right when he found out about Asher and Olivia, and he was just like, "How about I tell Layla?" Like, and so just those little seeds of him always in the background, sort of just looking out for her, and again, what we said, like what they brought out of each other and the things that they needed to hear. Um, Again, this is something else I wanted to add, but like even the small things like Layla mimicking Jordan. Like, we don't really hear Layla mimic. Layla's very
Yeah.
typically a very mature person. And so Layla getting to act her age and mimic Jordan is just like,
Yeah.
it's really funny. Like,
I agree. It just unleashed all these different sides of them, you know, that they don't usually unleash. And so that's why it was so compelling to watch and be like,
yeah.
oh my God, you know? And then, you know, I think in the following episodes, we get to figure out maybe, you know, why that was, you know,
Right.
and they get to figure out why, and we get to watch them figure out why. I feel like we kind of all know why, or most of us assume why, I should say. But
We do assume. I feel like our assumptions are correct, but like we do
I mean,
assume.
I agree. If even just looking from like a beat by beat writer perspective, this I think we can. I mean, I feel like it's clear where the narrative is going here, but you know, I could be wrong, but I certainly hope that's where it goes. But we'll see once they go on this road trip.
Yes. I hope it's that way too. And we can shift into like predictions. Last thing I'll say is that, like we mentioned, she's gonna visit Carrie, and he dared her to, actually, and that's what's
As
actually
soon as he said that, I
after.
was like, oh, they're bringing Carrie back. Like, as soon as he brought her up, I was like, no.
See, I was just like, I don't care, we're getting Jordala on a road trip.
I know, that's the only, it makes up for it, it's fine.
It makes up for it. But and again, at the end, right, Layla pushing him to get recover his confidence a little bit, and he has that talk with Wade, which we mentioned. Thanks for listening to Film Study, an All American podcast. Stay tuned for our predictions.